Some of us are outwardly successful, but inwardly feel unhappy and living a life lacking in purpose and meaning. The Necktie and the Jaguar by Carl Greer can help you discover what's important to you and how to go for it. For more information or to purchase the book, visit carlgreer.com. That's CARLGREER.com.
Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. On Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Welcome to Inspired Conversations, my friends. I'm Linda Joy, Intentional Living Guide, Mindset Mojo Mentor, and publisher of Aspire Magazine, the premier inspirational digital magazine for women since 2006. And I am super excited that one of my special guests, today's special guest, is a frequent contributor to Aspire, and I'm so excited for you to meet her. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes we find it difficult to hear our own inner wisdom. I know there's been many times in my life that I have. That's why it's so important to create sacred space, physically and energetically, so that you can just be. And that opens you up to receiving the guidance as well as connecting and communing with your divine essence. Joining me today is an extraordinary friend, Crystal Cockerham. She's a spiritual mentor, certified Red Tent Facilitator, international bestselling author, and founder of Wisdom Awakens. Crystal is passionate about working with awakened, empathic women to unlock the shackles of pain, shame, and self-condemnation so they can reclaim their sovereignty and liberate themselves from the world's perceptions. I'll tell you, we can all use some more of that these days. In addition to authoring her own journal and 4-part meditation series bundle, Awaken Your Divine Wisdom, a guided journal expedition to explore your universe and decode its secrets, Crystal's been published as a co-author in several international best-selling books, including Shine, Stories to Dream Big, Feel Less, and Blaze Your Own Trail, as well as Life Reimagined, Women's Stories of Hope, Resilience, and Transformation, which I'm excited to say I'm the publisher of both of those, as well as the recent 365 Days of Self-Love, Radical Self-Love, and more. Welcome, Crystal.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. I'm so happy to be here with you today.
Well, you know, I always love our conversations, love circling up with you. And I wanted to have you on the show because I've watched your journey unfold yourself as a woman. And, you know, I just said, there's some wisdom here that needs to be shared because so many women have misconceptions about certain phrases, right? Even about tapping into their own intuition. So first off, let's dive into how did you recognize this was the work you were meant to do in the world?
Well, it unfolded in pieces, really, for me. So at the beginning, when I stumbled upon, the field of wisdom circles and coaching and all of that, it was like stepping through like a portal into another world, and my brain was like tingling like crazy. And in the space of about a year and a half, I went through a coach's certification. I went through energy healing certification, and I stepped onto a shamanic path, which was a personal journey. So it was like, oh, we've got her here. We've got her where we want. Now we got to hurry up and speed her through a whole bunch of stuff, right? And so the intuitive piece, although it was early on, the intuitive and the empathic nature of it, I really had to get clear on for myself. So, you know, like anything or most things, you really have to take it in and live it and learn it and become it before you can help others. And while, we're all on the journey, so full self-mastery is always a thing that we're tweaking and fine-tuning. The first year or two, I really didn't go into opening up to your intuition or talking about being an empath because I was still learning for me. There were days where I would have a very powerful and incredible session with a client, but then I would go home and I'd be like really sick. And it was like, what is this all about? So it was always that constant dance for me of really intense personal spiritual boot camp training.
I love it because I've been doing this show 6 years, and I found, and it's one of the questions I generally ask is, what led them to the work they're doing in the world? And I would say, Crystal, 98% of the time, it was their own personal journey, diving into their own truth, uncovering all their own muck that organically led them to their work. And, I say that, for that group, I call them soulpreneurs, right?
Mhm.
Because it wasn't like one day they woke up and said, I'm going to start a business. For a majority, it was, I'm just following the whispers of my soul. I'm doing my own work. And then it led to it. And that's such a beautiful story you shared. And it's my story too. It's the story of so many who want to lead from their inner guidance, from their heart. We could use a lot of different words, right? And that's
Mhm.
what I've always admired about you and the work that you're doing, because I've watched you unfold in the years that I've known you. And I'm like, oh yeah, she's on this inner journey. And then what I love about you is that you then step out and say, let's do this, ladies. And you invite women in and lead from that position. So, in the bio, I said that you lead women to find lost parts of themselves and claim their sovereignty. A lot of women may question, what does sovereignty mean? What does claim their sovereignty mean?
Mm. Another super duper powerful piece.
Oh yeah, baby.
um, yeah. So, and it's funny because this word sovereignty, it's really quite something. It's almost like this dance where you enter into, the ballroom or the stadium or the nightclub or what have you. And there's this piece that just seems mysterious or unreachable, unknown, yet you're so attracted to it, right? And you're like, dare I dance with that? Dare I go there? Um, and then others, there's this big fear, sovereignty. I don't need any sovereignty. What is this sovereignty? I don't agree with sovereignty. So all of these misconceptions come around looking at sovereignty for your own personal truth, right? In the spiritual sense, it is being fully aware and owning that not everything is all feel good, right? That, you're a humanoid walking the planet Earth, and that means that things are going to come up for you, and they come up for you so that you can work through them. So when you're claiming and standing in your sovereignty, you're holding that vision of your future self, of coming through it with the shadow no longer being there, of that peace, right? Because we all have both light and shadow. We both have the yin and the yang. And those, while different things, they're opposites, right? So how do you stay on the path that keeps you where you're not ignoring the other half, right? So I don't want to say toe the line because I very much don't agree that, anything is a straight line. I
No, it
fully
hasn't been for me, I'll tell you that.
Right, right. And I mean, we are quantum beings. So, I mean, the capacity and the potential that we have is amazing. But when you step into and claim your sovereignty, it's in owning and claiming your accountability for yourself.
Mm. No, that statement speaks to me so deeply. And I think it's a lifelong process. It's a lifelong journey, right? Because we're always uncovering layers too. And we're going to take a quick break, Chris. When we come back, I want to dive a little more into that and also talk about, you know, navigating this human journey as an empath, right? And
Mhm.
because I'm one, you're one, and many that are drawn to our work are empaths, even if they're still discovering what that means. So we'll be back in a moment. I'm with Crystal Cockerham. You can learn more at crystalcockerham.com. We'll be right back.
This is OTRFM, part of the IOM radio network.
Inspiration for a Woman's Soul. Aspire Magazine, inspiring and supporting women on the path of self-discovery. Claim your free digital subscription today, which includes access to thousands of dollars of personal development bonus gifts from Team Inspiration partners. Claim your Aspire Magazine subscription today at subscribetoaspire.com.
Hey America, we need to have a little talk. We've got more food than we know what to do with in this country, yet 17 million kids in America are struggling with hunger. Makes no sense. Luckily, the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks has volunteers gathering excess food and getting it to hungry kids. They're kind of like food angels. Hey, become a food angel yourself by supporting Feeding America in your local food bank at feedingamerica.org. We can't do it without your help. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
Hi everyone, this is Shay Parker, the host of Best of the Best, which airs live right here on IOM Radio every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific. I'm super excited to bring you expert guest hosts, spiritual discussions, free psychic readings, and so much more. I can promise that you will not want to miss this one-of-a-kind, fun, yet touching, down-to-earth show. Join us every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific on OTRFM. This is Shay Parker, and I can't wait to see you there.
This is OTRFM, part of the IOM radio network.
Welcome back, my friends. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy. With me today is the one and only Crystal Cockerham, spiritual mentor, certified Red Tent Facilitator, and international best-selling author. So, Crystal, right before the break, we were talking about what sovereignty is. And there was something you said about it not being a linear line. Like I look back at my life and my personal development journey or personal path, and I'm like, it's never been a line for me. It's been this spiral almost, right?
Mhm.
And that's how I see it. And sometimes I go backwards on the spiral, right? If you have to learn a lesson, I used to go backwards a lot. Now I'm like, no, just stay forward. But that's what it feels like to me. So that was such a beautiful description. Thank you.
Oh,
Now,
you're welcome. Thank you. Yeah.
and one of the topics that you do a lot on in your work and your writing for Aspire and in most of your messaging is about the divine feminine, intuition, and how to navigate this down earth journey as an empath. And I identify as an ambivert, and you've known me for a long time, right? So
Mhm.
for me, I am very intuitive, but my energy is, for those who don't know what ambivert is I can hold space for large gatherings, large projects, and I have that type of energy center that I can hold that and not get overwhelmed. But the flip side is I'm also a hermit energy, even in my my human design, that I also need, right? So for me, it's and, not or. And I also need lots of alone time, deep reflection time. And I don't know about you, Crystal, but until I discovered that essence of who I am and how to understand it, man, I struggled in the first 30, 40 years because I was fighting against my own energies and feeling different of like, why am I like this? Well, I think I'm energetically wired that way. So do you see that? Do you believe that we're all energetically wired by a divine plan, whether it's ambivert, introvert, empath? What's your thoughts on that? And please explain, your whole view on this topic.
Oh my goodness. Yes, absolutely. My personal belief is that each and every one of us, when we are born, right, when we come to this planet in this lifetime, we are absolutely connected, right? We're connected to the above and the below. That Carol Tuttle, she's the one who introduced to me the chakra 0, and it was your place is here on earth. Therefore, when you are born, you are worthy, you belong simply because you are, right? Those might not be her exact words, but the essence of the teaching. Yeah. And, as I've done the dance of my own personal work and then in working with others, because every time you work with another, the best wisdom you share isn't something you learn in a book or in a course, or it's the wisdom you gain by walking your path and doing your work. And so I really, truly believe that we are all born intuitive, right? That's part of our divine DNA at the moment of our birth. And of course, there are several things that come into play that makes us question that. So I see empaths as, they're so tapped in intuitively, right? That once you work through your intuition, we're all somewhere on the empath spectrum, right? Somewhere in that frequency. And the more you strengthen your intuitive senses, the more you walk your path and become lighter in your body, then, you also become more aware of, even if you weren't before, your empathic nature, right? And it's a tough one at first. At first, it's discernment. When you figure it out, you're wrapping your head around, wow, I can really feel what other people are feeling. You think it's just something you see on movies or TV at first. If you don't have parents and mentors while you're growing up, that's really what you think, because that's the only place you know of it. And then you start kind of getting used to it. And then you're like, okay, but do I really feel that way? And the more you practice that discernment piece, the more you begin to trust in your own self and in your own means of decision making. And so before I ask you if I answered all the bits, I'm really being called to stress something. Even though I'm an empath, I don't go around tuning into how's that person feeling? How's that person feeling? What's that person thinking? Blah, blah, blah. Absolutely not. I have my own. I don't need anybody else's. I don't want anybody else's. But when those things come through, I don't ever look at it as what is it for that person, unless it's a client and they have given permission. What my body does, what I've trained myself to do, is to really tune in and, okay, what do I need to know? Why is this being shown to me? What is this for me? Right?
That's beautiful. And I love it because you have the spiritual boundaries, right? So I'm glad that you brought that up. And yes, you covered everything. And one of the things that I've always believed, like you, is, but I didn't I didn't come to the belief till later in life because I didn't have the knowledge. It's what raising my grandchildren, who are very intuitive, in being at that point in my own spiritual development, watching them from the moment they were born, the bright light, the innate nature of their intuition, their connection to the divine and to nature itself. I'm like, you know what? It's exactly what you said, Crystal. We are all born that way. And then we integrate into the world and the signal gets weakened because of all the muck we pick up, right? From society, a family, etc. But we never lose the connection. And so as our path unfolds and we're led to like reignite that connection, right? Get the spark back. But I believe, like you, we are never disconnected. It's a divine gift that everyone has. They're all intuitive. And something else you said too is about trusting, right? You know me. Now I receive the insight, the idea, whatever it may be. I receive, I know, like in my heart, it's like, that's done. And I birth. I no longer question what I receive because of, like you said, I've practiced trusting. So my trust muscles are so built up. It's like, oh yeah, baby, that's for me. And I just want to say to people, it's normal that when you're first playing with your intuition or learning to trust yourself, it is normal to doubt yourself. I remember going, how do I know that's not my ego thinking I can start a magazine or do this? It's like when the idea lights you up. I'm curious about this, Crystal. Like when I receive, if it lights me up, can be of service to others, and like excites me, then I know it's from the divine. Like, you know, it's my truth. If it makes me fearful or anything like that, or there's a couple other energies I can feel in my body, then I know that maybe it's, you know, kind of wishful thinking, that type of thing. Do you process like that too?
Yeah, for me, and it comes in different ways for me. So sometimes it's like all of a sudden I'm given everything and I see it and I feel it and I hear things around it. And then I know, holy manoles, I've got to get this down. You know, I need to sit with this, you know. And there are times where there is no question. I know exactly what it is. You know, I was initiated into the divine feminine mysteries years ago. And while I've been walking that path, I've also been drawn to this red tent movement, right? Which is slightly different than the shamanic path, but very like same color, same tapestry. You know what I mean? It's just the red tent for me is more inclusive of other worldly cultures. And so when the opportunity came up for me to study with this woman who I was drawn to her, and I know you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
She just kept coming up and I'm like, man, I like the way she thinks. Oh, I like the way she thinks. I was like, oh yes, I'm doing this because, you know, I want to smooth out, you know, fill in, right? Like the artist on the painting, and they're at the end, but they know it's not finished. It was like that finishing piece for me. And so when I was going through the training of the certification, I really tapped in, and because retreats is just something on my heart, and I absolutely love leading and guiding them. And so I'm like, yes, a red tent retreat. And I just like took a breath, and I was so fully in the moment of the training. And I paused everything and I went in and I said, yes. And all of a sudden I was absolutely flooded with the vision, the feeling, the emotion of leading my own red tent ceremony retreat with other women. And every time I close my eyes and I think about it, it's there. And every single time it's clearer and clearer and clearer and clearer. It's incredible. So, you know, that's one of the ways. And sometimes for me, something kind of plops in and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a great idea. And I write it down. So if nothing comes right away, I just let it be. But then I just kind of put it out there to my guides and to the divine. And I ask, if this is for me, please give me more. Please show me more. And it unfolds. And if it doesn't, sometimes it comes back like a year later. It's funny because I know that you were a big support system for me when I went through my rebranding this year. And as I was moving into my new home office, I found a folder of these ideas. And as I started thumbing, I still have it. As I started thumbing through it, these notes were all things that I'm either doing or in the process of doing, and totally forgot that I wrote those notes down.
Oh my God, I love when that happens, when it comes
Yeah.
through. We're going to take a break, Crystal. When we come back, I want to talk about what some of the common misconceptions are about the red tent and the divine feminine.
Okay.
And we'll be back in a moment, my friends. I'm with Crystal Cockerham. You can learn more at crystalcockerham.com. We'll be right back.
This is OTRFM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Are you feeling the call to unleash your feminine wisdom, hone your empathic gifts, and rise as the goddess you are? You're not alone, my beautiful friend. Crystal Cockerham, spiritual mentor and certified Red Tent Facilitator, trained in both shamanic and priestess practices, works with awakened, empathic women around the world to unlock their shackles of pain, shame, and self-condemnation so they can reclaim their sovereignty and liberate themselves from the world's perceptions. As the founder of Wisdom Awakens and an international best-selling author, Crystal uses her own intuitive blend of spiritual midwifery and energy healing to support women on their journey of transformation. You'll find supportive guidance and community in Crystal's programs, retreats, and sacred offerings. If you're feeling the call to embrace your feminine power, learn more about Crystal's supportive services at crystalcockerham.com.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
This is Terry Van Horn, and I want to invite you to join me for my weekly radio show, Hailing Light, on OMTimes Radio every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Hailing Light, we want to bring love, light, and blessings into your world. You can find out more about us at www.healinglightonline.com. Blessings.
Me, a cat moving in with a new human. It took a little getting used to. She has these weird games she likes to play, like this giant feather. She sticks it in my face. I swat it away. She sticks it in my face. I swat it away. It's almost like she thinks I enjoy it. But seeing how much fun she gets out of it, well, I guess it makes it all worth it. Humans.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
This is OTRFM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
You're listening to Inspired Conversations. Welcome back, my friends. So, Crystal, right before the break, we were talking about, the red tent and divine feminine. What are some of the common misconceptions about the two of them that you've noticed over the years?
Oh gosh. Well, one big one, and I can't remember where I was, but I was doing a live with somebody, and a comment came up when I was talking about the red tent, and somebody said, "Isn't that Wicca? Isn't that Wiccan?" And I said, not that I know of, though I'm sure that there are Wiccans who believe and exercise the red tent rights, right? Because the red tent, the moon lodge, those are, divine feminine. So one big misconception is that it's a religion, and the red tent and or the moon lodges are absolutely not a religion. They're a right for us as women to really dive into the divine feminine energies that reside within us. And the divine feminine energy is just that. It's an energy. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, that energy lives in you, right? And we all have that sacred masculine energy as well. Uh, you know, but when you're walking the planet as a woman, that divine feminine energy is your, that's even if you're not a woman, but it's your expression, it's your creation, it's your holding, it's your visioning, it's really your everything, right? As a woman, it's the truest essence of you. I like to call it your inner goddess, right? Some people call it your higher self. And when a woman has her first, it's called a moon dew, right? Your menarche is your moon dew, your first period, your first menses. That's when, you're initiated into those mysteries, and in agricultural societies and as far back as it goes, that's when you would begin communing with the women during the moon flow time. And it wasn't something that was a punishment to keep women away. It was an honoring of their body's ability to create life. And at that time, that is when us as women, our intuitive and empathic senses are the most heightened, right? So we're actually in our highest power at that time. So to be able to commune and learn, and what would women learn? They would learn how to birth babies. They would learn healing. They would learn about their bodies. They would dream, right? They would enter into that mystical dream of the mystery of what it is to be a woman in co-creation with the divine.
It sounds like, I can feel the energy of, as the woman gathered, it came together during their moon flow. It was like, it was sacred time together. As you said, it wasn't punishment. It was something beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was absolutely beautiful and sacred. And, they were cared for while they were in the tent, in the lodge. They didn't do their daily duties. Yeah, go ahead.
So today, like if you were to hold a red tent ceremony, what does that look like? Like a woman gather, whether they're having their menses or not, and is it just a time of reverence of being a woman?
Well, yes, no matter what the topic or the energy is that comes up in that sacred space, it absolutely is that. And when we are bleeding, that is our uterine lining shedding. So the time of the red tent is around the dark moon, the new moon, right? Because that's when there's no light being cast. So there's a lot to be said about that time in your cycle. And even if you're not physically bleeding anymore, right? If you're in moon pause, you're still energetically going through that shamanic death every month, right? Because every month there's a different energy. Every month something different is shown to you. And I think that's one of the beautiful capacities us as women have. It's that bittersweetness that comes with the cycle, right? You can't deny what's showing up because there it is, right? You do have free will to look at it. You do have free will to release it. You do have free will to plant new seeds and dream them awake.
That sound is so beautiful to me. And one of the things too is you work privately with women, Crystal, right?
Yes.
So to give an idea to our listeners, if someone was to come in to you for a consultation, what does it look like? What are you leading them through?
It depends on what they come to me with. So while I do have, like programs and all of that, when I'm working with someone privately, I always let them lead the way. I always let them tell me what's coming up for them, and what it is they want to work on. And then my job and, my skill set, my gifts are I listen and I hold the space, and the thread is shown to me and I tug on the thread, and then we unravel and repattern. But one thing that I have noticed over the years is it doesn't matter if the woman sitting on the other side of the room for me, whether it's Zoom or in person. It doesn't matter if they're a healer. It doesn't matter if it's someone who's walked the path for a long time or someone who's just beginning on their journey. There's always an energy at play that is part of their conditioned self that is no longer true, and something that they have been living from as if it has been true. And it's really the way I work is I just lead and guide and support. And in so doing, I help them learn to trust what comes up for them. So the most powerful thing I can do is just hold witness, hold space for what is coming up for them. Because even if they don't say it, it shows itself to me. And then we have a conversation and move from there. When I work with women, there's always the processing, and the teacher in me, I give homework. I teach women how to hold ritual and sacred space for themselves. So while even healers need other healers, it's really nice to have that empowered piece of you, that you're growing your toolbox and your skill set to where you can take yourself through processes and trust yourself that you're going to come out on the other side.
That's so
older,
powerful.
Better. Yeah.
It's so powerful. And I just loved your description, as you said, you listen and then you tug on the thread and reveal everything and then repattern. I could feel that in my body. You know what I mean? Like the sacredness of what that must feel like for your clients. So for yourself, well, what we'll do so we don't have to interrupt you is let's take the last break. We'll be back in a moment. When we come back, I'd love to talk about some simple things that women can do to get started on their journey. And if there's time, we can talk a little bit about the importance of sacred space in our last segment too, Crystal.
Okay.
Yeah, and sacred space is one of my favorite topics.
Me too.
So we'll be back in a moment, my friends. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. With me today is Crystal Cockerham. I invite you to visit crystalcockerham.com. Check out all her offerings, her free gift, and so much more. We'll be back in a moment.
This is OTRFM, part of the IOM radio network.
What if you were living just one perspective of your potential? The truth is, we have lost how to live in partnership with spirit in a participatory way. Sarah Breen, also known as the Shadow Walker, is an integrative shamanic energy medicine practitioner and international best-selling author. Sarah guides you along your journey, reminding you that true healing happens when you walk a path of authenticity and integrity. By doing so, she awakens within you what has been locked away by fears, beliefs, and trauma. With over 15 years working in the energy realms of spirit, she is deeply committed to cultivating sacred space for clients and helps them express their true selves and live free of the chains of their ancestors' unexpressed lives. Learn more at mindspiritmapping.com.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Elia, in the circle on Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
This is OTR FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. Thank you for being here today. So, Crystal, what are some simple things women can do to get started on their journey? And as I shared a moment ago, you can include sacred space in there. We can keep the two separate in the last segment. But I, like you, believe in creating sacred space in my biz and in my life. But there could be some women listening right now that they don't even know how to get started, but they're like chomping at the bit because they're loving this conversation. So share away, my friend.
I don't know if I could talk about them separately because sacred space is such it. I mean, it's that keystone, right? It's the keystone to everything in how I go about things. So sacred space is it's an inside job, really. And of course, everything you have outside of yourself is a representation, a reflection, a reminder, a mirror for what is within you and to go within. So the sacred space for me, I don't think I can talk about it without talking about the divine feminine, because that's that inner chalice, your inner cauldron, the sacred container that lives within all of us, that gives us the capability to hold that sacred space. And we often, way more times than others, we do it for others, right? And you're walking through the store and somebody says hi, and next thing you know, they're telling you their life story. It's because you're exuding sacred space and safety. If you're a healer and clients come to you, it's because you're holding that space for others. But my question is, and where I step in is, are you doing that for yourself? And being able to reach that space is the beginning of your daily practice, right? There's no wrong way to start a daily practice. If meditation is your thing, then that is beautiful and fantastic. But I would invite you to think about, could meditation be something that is part of my daily practice? Even if it's the biggest part of my daily practice, how can I step into that sacred space and really feel it and get to know it, right? And as empaths, it's really important, and that's the key to learning discernment from where you end and others begin. So really, it's getting to know yourself etherically, getting to know yourself energetically, And a way that you can step into sacred space is really just disconnecting from everything and entering into a room or a space in your yard where nobody is going to bother you. So right now I'm home alone. Otherwise, I would have my little sound machine on with the birdies outside my door. So what that sound machine does is it tells everyone else in my house, if you're not bleeding to death, dying, and nobody's died, do not come through that door. Right?
Oh my God, I love that. That's priceless. And that's a gentle way of telling them, little tweeting birds, like, don't mess with mom.
Yeah, exactly. And, so you give yourself that time, right? You give yourself the permission, then you take that next step to give yourself and enter into that space. And then I go through a little bit of purification. And sometimes, depending on the nature of it, it's longer than others. It could be as simple as using an essential oil energy spray. It could be smudging. You could be using a feather fan in air just to clear your energy body. And you can light a candle or turn on a special light. And you are just being with you, yourself, and you. And that's, where you set your intention for, I'm entering this sacred space today for, and it could just be, this is my practice and it feeds me. And it just helps me remember I am whole, right? Or it could be, I'm looking for guidance and support around a specific topic, or I need to vision and dream awake this next thing for my business. And then you be with it and you tune in and you listen, feel, see, whichever muscle is stronger for you. And you tap into what I call your spirit speak, right? And that's how your intuition speaks through you. And you're just receiving, you're just listening. And that all on its own is a very powerful practice and a really, really, truly beautiful beginning. You can also do some sacred reading. Anything that helps expand you and helps lift you up is what you do in sacred space.
I'll tell you, the way you describe things just speaks to my soul, but it's become an important part of my life. Like that Dana and I end every day by going out to our dock, sitting by the water in the Adirondack chairs. It's how we've created sacred space as a couple. But throughout the day, I go out there, especially if I have a lot of clients, if I have a small break, I go out just to ground and to be.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something I wanted to ask you too, because for years, decades, well, I'll be honest, decades, I didn't like to be with myself, right? I was, like my mother would say, do you ever keep still? You're always doing something. You're always on the go. I can look back now and go, yeah, of course I was. I was running like hell from myself. I didn't want to be alone with my thoughts. Oh, yeah, I was like, like on a marathon, baby. And now I can't not be with myself because it's become my sacred time, my sacred space, right? And as I had identified that I need that. But like just yesterday, Crystal, it was at probably 3:00. There was 1,000 things I could have done, right? Work, family, wash dishes, whatever it may be. But my soul, and you called it, I think you said soul speak.
Spirit speak, yes.
Spirit speak said, Lynn, just go sit outside for a few minutes. It's October, it's 72 degrees. This day will never come again. This weather in October won't come again, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I went out and I brought my journal. I have no idea why I brought my journal, but I just listened and I sat there and I was just looking at the water crystal. All of a sudden, an idea of something I had been like, how you have a project or something you're envisioning, but there's a missing piece.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a missing piece, but you go, okay, it's going to come when it comes. All I was doing was sitting there looking at the water. Clear as day, it dropped in and I giggled, soul giggled. And I said, thank you. But if we're not still enough, if we don't create sacred space, we can't hear. Have you found that for yourself too, that if without that sacred space, like for me, it's moments sitting by the water, we can't hear.
Yeah, well, yes and no. Without that sacred space is what helps you feel the connection and learn to trust it.
Yes, I agree.
Right? However, I create so many layers of sacred space of calling in that I know I'm always in it, right? I may be deeper at times, and when I am inside my bubble and I am visioning and I'm dreaming awake or I'm creating, I am deep in it, right? But as I move through my day, I keep the sacred with me always and in all forms, right? So I know that it's just a thought away. And that is the truth for everyone. It's training yourself, and you're so connected to the land that you live on, which is so beautiful, that it's easy for you to drop into a level of sacred space.
Yes, and your description just now was so beautiful. It resonated with me on a soul level because it's how I feel now about my life. I am always in sacred space, but I never thought of it that way, right? Until I just heard your description. But you know me enough to know I always feel I'm just living in alignment with the divine, and it's like everyone says, how's your life? My mantra is ease, grace, and flow, right? Well, that's ease, grace, and flow comes when you're with the divine. So thank you for that beautiful description. We only have a moment left. Is there anything you would like to share with our listeners in the last minute we have?
Oh, there is, and I thought about mentioning it a moment ago when you asked me about how you could get started.
Yes.
So, I have on crystalcockerham.com. All you have to do is go to crystalcockerham.com. I have a free gift. It's Rituals to Nurture Your Goddess Soul gift set. And that is what I would like to invite everybody to today. If I always bless and thank my followers for tuning in when I'm doing, shows such as yours, which I absolutely love doing stuff with you because you're just so fun, energetically to be with. But for all of those who are listening and I'm new to you, please check out my Nurture Your Goddess Soul gift set, because in there I give you a PDF that walks you through creating your own personalized sacred ritual. There's an inner goddess guided meditation where I guide you to meeting your inner goddess. And then there's 2 videos where I walk you through a morning ritual and the other one, an evening ritual to nurture your goddess soul. So I would say that free gift is really a great way to meet me, get to know me, meet yourself, and really get going. And
And I am so excited for everyone to claim that gift. It's not only is it gorgeous, the content is powerful and it will support you on your journey. And you can get that at crystalcockerham.com. And Crystal, right before we sign off, I just looked at the 2 cards I drew this morning. I'm sitting here as you're speaking, and guess what? It's Inner Wisdom, Athena, and Sacred Space, Nematona. And I'm sitting here and I just glanced over and I'm like, are you kidding me? So what a beautiful way to close out our conversation, my friend. I love you. I'm so grateful that you're in my life and I can share you with my audience. And everyone, again, claim Crystal's free gift at crystalcockerham.com.
Thank you. And right back at you, sister. I love you.
Love you too. Until next time, my friends, choose love, choose joy, choose happiness. Blessings.
Thanks for listening to Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. Join our sacred space every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern and meet leading female visionaries empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy is a soulful venue where guests share the obstacles they've overcome, along with wisdom and lessons learned on their personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic and soulful living.